Yesterday was 20 years, and I have 3 sons. And FYI, part of my family, for those that maybe don't know, I was talking to a gentleman in the back, in Cuba, there's a lot of Lebanese Cubans. And my uncle is Muslim, and his wife is Catholic. Kind of interesting couple. So they're from southern Lebanon. So I am familiar with your faith. Thank you.
I forgot to make a disclaimer right at the beginning of the show that this masjid and CARE are non-profit organizations. No, we don't endorse the views of any of the participants here. And so when it comes time to vote, please vote whoever you like to, however you like to. But this masjid nor CARE endorses any group because that's against the non-profit rules. So if you have any more questions for any of these candidates, you may go ahead and raise your hand. I'll bring the mic to you. Or I can start with my questions that I had, has been pondering over. Yes.
Question on the presidential race. It's shocking to me that a hate-monger, a bigot, a divisive person like Trump can rise to where he is. How could something like this happen? It's a sad commentary on our nation that someone like him can get to where he is today. Do you have a view on what causes someone like him to get to where he is?
We're in a very toxic environment right now, and I've never seen anything like it. The people feeling free to express these horrible ideas, and what we need to do is that we need to show that as a community and a nation that we are better than that. So hopefully after the election, people will understand that we are not a nation of hate, and we are not a nation that spews these vile remarks. And what I think we really need to look at is how are we interacting in the community. And this group has done a very good job of outreach. I was here a few years ago with the entire city council, and we were answering questions. I think it was right before an election. But we need to make sure that everybody here in our community, in the Conejo Valley, knows that everybody is a part of the fabric of the community. And we need to remember that when we know people, when we interact with them, when they are our babysitters or our my daughter's swim coach or the activists at the city council, it's much harder to stereotype. So I think the important thing that we need to do is not get involved in this toxic conversation, but we all need to rise above it and make sure that we get to know each other, and that we interact, and that we put a stop to this, because that is not what America is about.
I'd like to add to your question. I think part of the reason why you see these types of people that are running right now is because there's a lot of great people in this country that would be fantastic presidents, but the process of the political process is a dirty process. And what happens within it, a lot of decent people just don't want to go through with it. And I'm going to give you an example of that because, like I said, I'm not a politician, but I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives. So it makes me a bigger target. My opponent during the primary made thousands of phone calls with actual live people, and they called me a racist. They said that I did not like Hispanics. I'm Hispanic. I'm not sure what you meant by that. Then they said that I did not like women. I'm married to one. I did not pay my taxes. All these just vile things to include that I disowned my own son. I got the phone call from my son that same day. It's part of the reason why we don't have the right people going on top, because people said, you know what? I don't want to go through that. It is disgusting. So I'd love to change that process.
You know, those that come from a place of hate and intolerance and these vile attitudes are very often louder than those of us who come from a place of love and tolerance and peacefulness and understanding and compassion. But at the end of the day, that is what's stronger, and that's what will win the day. I'm very proud of all the people that are working together throughout our country to make sure that the hate and the intolerance and the prejudice doesn't win.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem with partisan politics. It's dividing the nation, Democrats and Republicans. I'm running in a nonpartisan race. As far as you all are concerned, I'm concerned, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm representing you. And that's important, because this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where things get done on the local level. This is why it's so important that we keep a local race like Thousand Oaks City Council nonpartisan. So when I'm sitting up there on the dais, I'm not looking at this person's a Republican, this person's a Democrat. I'm looking at 4 other people that are here to help the citizens of Thousand Oaks, and that's all. That's all. So I'm just blessed that, and I'm determined to see that these local races stay nonpartisan so we can do what's best for the people of Thousand Oaks. Thank you.
Anyone else has a question? All right, I'm going to ask a question. There's Proposition 64 on the ballot about the legalization of adult use of marijuana. People in the Muslim community are concerned about what's going to happen when it's easy for anyone to buy marijuana. Marijuana, by the way, is a drug, it's a recreational drug, it's called Jaras or whatever in your language. And a law may pass that if you're over the age of 21, you may be able to buy it. So what is your position on the passing of this proposition of this law?
I am opposed to the passing of Prop 64. So the example that I always like to start with is that the California initiative is based on the Colorado initiative. Right now, the Colorado initiative has 61 bills to try to fix it. It has not properly regulated THC levels. It has not properly regulated edibles. It is not properly protecting our children. So when there are 61 bills to fix a law that was passed by the voters, you need to think, is this what we should be doing in California? And I've heard it referred to as trying to build an airplane as it's flying. Eventually, marijuana will be legalized in California, I believe, but we have to have the proper regulations in place to make sure that we protect our children. If you are looking at THC levels of 35 and over, which is happening right now in Colorado, there are studies that are showing a correlation between psychosis and regular marijuana smoking.
What is THC?
THC is the level of, it's the active ingredient in marijuana that gives you the high. So what they're doing is they're making hashish oil. They have tremendous problems there. So what what Californians are saying, oh, it's going to be raising a lot of money for California. But you cannot we don't want to have all those problems that come with it. We don't want to have driving under the influence. Right now, we do not have a test to actually test to see if somebody's driving through the influence. The regulation as it is currently written will allow advertising on TV. Now, Big Tobacco is not allowed to advertise on TV, and I think they're probably licking their chops at this initiative passing. They'll just go straight from marijuana to cigarettes. Last year, after 20 years of medical marijuana being legal, The legislature finally passed a very comprehensive set of rules and regulations to make sure that we are protecting our environment and that we're protecting our children. And this initiative walks some of them back. So I think right now it's a very poor idea. We will have an incredible number of unintended consequences. When we legalize marijuana, we have to have all the regulations in place. We do not want to be Colorado, where the sheriffs and the police chiefs wrote a letter to the legislature and said, stop writing rules because we cannot implement the 61 that you have passed so far. So,
You're opposed to it.
I'm opposed to it.
I am also firmly opposed to it for many reasons, but one example is what Jackie also suggested, is that there's no test for driving impairment. And so it becomes a real public safety issue as well as a health issue. And I do believe that it is a gateway drug, and it's just not a good idea for anybody.
Okay, let me make it real simple. If I have anything to do with it, you are not going to see marijuana stores on Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Okay? Period. Period. I'm totally against it. I have 2 young girls that live here in this city. We're not going to degrade the quality of life by selling a drug on Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Not going to happen. In fact, the Thousand Oaks City Council voted just recently to A, ban cultivation of marijuana in the city of Thousand Oaks, and B, ban the selling of marijuana in the city of Thousand Oaks. Now, we are going to face some challenges because I think this thing may get legalized. But I can tell you, from my standpoint, it's not going to happen in the city of Thousand Oaks. And I do believe it is a gateway drug, it's a dangerous drug, and we have a lot better things to do in this city than selling pot on the boulevard.
So you remember, I'm not a politician. I've done a bunch of really real intense things in my life. One of them is being around drug users. Another one was being a narcotics cop that worked undercover in the narcotics world. So with that said, the THC levels, just so you understand, used to be around 3%, 2%, and now they've escalated substantially. There is a correlation between kids right now smoking weed at these high THC levels and all of a sudden jumping over to heroin. And we have an epidemic out going on where kids are actually dying. There are people that can smoke marijuana their whole entire life and not be severely affected by it. They're functional. But too many others suffer from it. I know narcotics officers in Colorado that are having a nightmare with children right now in high school. The epidemic is spreading, and they're not telling us the truth because it's supposedly making them money. Kids' lives are not worth any amount of money. It really isn't. Regarding detecting and DUI, I was a DRE. A DRE, there's only a handful of officers throughout the country. They're called drug recognition experts. It's a 2-year program. You get certified through Columbia Medical School. Yes, you can detect marijuana in someone driving. You can. And at the time that I was doing that, and I don't know what the numbers are, but 60% of traffic fatalities, DUIs, and people think DUI, they think alcohol. DUI is anything, any drug, including prescription drugs. But 60% of the fatalities had THC in it. So it's not what some of these people that want to pass this, it's not that simple. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. We truly appreciate your presence. I'm here in this city of Thousand Oaks for 30 plus years, and I love it. One of the things that I've seen, and I don't know if you guys are aware of it, the Los Vientos Park community. That park at nighttime, it's labeled called Dope Park. There are teenagers, there are adults who are parked past 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. When you ask the kids, who are they? The answer is, Dad, they do some bad stuff. This thing has been brought up on HOA meetings in some other areas, but it looks like there's not hardly any cops in that area. So it's a prime area for them to actually do their activities, exchanging other stuff. And it's a beautiful area. So I think that's something that needs to be looked into.
I'll go undercover and get in there for you.
Just comment on that. Well, first of all, thank you for bringing that to my attention, because police officers can't be everywhere all the time. So we need citizens like you to point this out to us. You know, Thousand Oaks is the safest city in the state of California for over 100,000 people, and it's the second safest city in the nation, and it's also the safest city for women in the United States. To say we don't have some problems here and there. I'm very glad you brought that up. I'm going to talk to Chief Tim Hagel, and we'll see if we can step up some enforcement out there and see what's going on. What did you call it? Oh, that's not good.
Because even
The
in
kids are
our,
calling it.
yeah, even in our E-Day, matter of fact, we were preparing, and there were some undercover cops who were going to do a bus somewhere in that area. Probably some of the members probably realize it. But the thing is, it's a very quiet area. It's something that's not on the radar, you know. And we are here between Oxnard and LA. That's a good area for this.
Well, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Thank you.
You know, this is a really example of how everyone can be involved in our local politics. That is a wonderful way to come to the city council meetings, and before the city council works on issues, they have what they call the community open comments. So anybody can come and they can have a few minutes to speak to the entire city council, and that can be of any concern that you hold dealing with the city issues. So what a wonderful way for you to come and participate in your local city government in a way that's protecting our families and our children.
I just want to add to that. You can go to open comments, but we also have a great city council, and they are all very happy to receive emails. So any of you that have community issues, neighborhood issues, issues with public safety, please email your elected officials. And that doesn't just go for the city council level, but it goes for the state level, it goes for the federal level. Make sure that you're engaged that way. Don't be the person that says, oh, government never fixes anything. We want to show that we are good representatives to you, whether we are at the state or local or school board level or at the congressional level. So I think it's great that you brought it up. But I know when I got those emails, when I was on the city council, we sent them to the city manager. We had a whole tracking system to make sure that citizens were listened to, because we are your representatives.
Thank you.
Okay. About the influence of money in politics, 3 questions written on that. One is Citizens United. I guess Rafael might talk about that. I was involved in the city council campaign reform in '98, and we have a dollar limit, but I noticed that in city of Ventura there's a $27,000 total dollar limit, and I think something like that is needed, because that's one of the reasons people don't want to run, because it's unending, and to spend $100,000 for this is just ridiculous. And I was turned off my friend Strickland when he became assembly member, because of all the money that he used to get from the tobacco interests and Chumash Casino and this casino, etc. And I thought, what a horrible man he has turned out to be. But I looked at Jackie Irwin's donations, and it's just, she has used the same list. And so it turns good people, like Rafael has said, into, I won't say anything, but not so good. So how do we reform it so that we get back to citizen politics?
That there is a constitutional problem right now because Citizens United, we know what happened with the court case. We did have a group that brought the issue in front of City Council, and two of us did have a vote in support of overturning the court case, and there is a ballot initiative too that is in support of overturning this crazy money race that has happened. The thing that you would say with a city like Ventura when they have the lower limits, I mean, some people, it's not quite as easy as you're talking about, because some people would say that's the Incumbency Protection Act if the limits are really low. Now, I don't take tobacco money, I don't take oil money, but it is these races for the state assembly and for the congressional seats are unbelievably expensive. And would I like to change things? Obviously, I would like not to raise the amount of money I have, but unfortunately, that's the situation in the state seats and in the congressional seats. And yes, city council races are getting very important, but until we have probably a change in the Supreme Court, this is sort of the hand that everybody has been dealt.
How about changing this where you are giving money to other districts where races are not competitive, and because you don't have a competitor here, but you can give money around the state? I mean, writing these checks.
I'm not giving money around the state, all the money that I'm
But I mean,
raising.
generally people like Rob McCoy has received money from Fresno and other places.
Again, we have constitutional issues with working to stop that. So, would we all like money out? Sure. Would we like public financing? That certainly is one solution, but unfortunately, this is the hand that we've been dealt.
I would also really like to get that big money out. I'm against Citizens United, and I think it should be overturned. And I also think that there should be limits. Absolutely, there should be limits. It is a real disincentive for a lot of good people to get into politics and serve, because they don't want to have to raise those big amounts of money. I'm receiving very small donations. I'm running a very grassroots campaign and getting support from all kinds of communities within our community of Thousand Oaks. And I would like to tell you that the best donation that I have received so far were 2 crumpled up dollar bills that a low-income senior handed me. Wow. And that just meant the world to me. And I think that's what politics should be about.
Thank you very much. Let me tell you, I'll speak only on the Thousand Oaks level here in the town that we live. For many, many years, the maximum contribution you can make to a candidate was $350. Pretty nominal amount, really. We did raise that, and that was for decades. We did raise it recently to $500. But I still think in the bigger scope of things, it's a fairly nominal amount that you can give a candidate. That's the maximum you can give. Where things can get expensive is when a candidate decides to inject his own money into the race. And we've had that. We've had a candidate not too long ago who was a very wealthy man inject a lot of his own money into the race, and it exploded the money that was spent. But we can't stop that. I mean, that's your right. If you want to spend your own money on your race, you have the right to do that. The other issue would be, and again, this gets back to, do we want to keep politics here in Thousand Oaks nonpartisan? We want to keep parties out of it. And parties do have the right, it's called member communications. They can send out election material about a Thousand Oaks City Council candidate and skirt that $510 limit, and they call it communications to their members. So it's legal, but I think there's a perspective problem there. A perception problem, pardon me, because it does put party politics into a local nonpartisan race. But the races in Thousand Oaks compared to what it costs to run for assembly or for Congress are a pittance. You know, Thousand Oaks council candidates, you can run for city council, well, you can run for as little, you know, for nothing if you want, but I would say the average race costs 25, 30,000, something like that. Is that right, Nick?
No less.
Somewhere around there. I mean, compared to a state assembly race, which would cost $500,000, more, yikes, $1 million, more. I mean, and a congressional race, which would cost.
I'll talk about it.
Okay.
Here's the money man.
So, no, I'm definitely not the money man, that's for sure. It's interesting on the federal level, you hear these politicians talk about Citizens United and they're against it. But if you actually dig, because you know politicians tell you all these things in front of your face, but then when you dig a little bit and find out what they actually do behind when the doors are closed, then you find out the truth. So these same politicians that are against Citizens United, you dig and you find out that they've raised millions of dollars from special interest groups. Like my opponent has, millions of dollars from those groups. Now, when I decided to run, I did meet with the so-called people in the party that give you advice and guidance of what you need to do. And I was told, you need to lock yourself up in a room for 7 hours a day. And you need to call, it's called dialing for dollars, and beg for money. Just all day long, ask people for money. You got to first start with your family and your friends, and then they give you a list, and then you grow the list, and then you ask them for other people. This is insane. I go, okay, so you want me to lock myself in a room, call people that I don't know, and ask them for money so I can pay you to run a campaign. In the meantime, the people don't know who I am because I'm in a room locked up asking someone else for money. That makes no sense. So I decided to do something totally different. Totally different. I decided to go on the street and get to know people and create relationships and introduce myself instead of being on the phone. So I did not raise the money, and because I did not raise the money, I'm ignored, like if I have a disease, okay? But here's the interesting part. In 2012, Tony Strickland lost to my opponent by 5%. 5%, which was, I think, 10 or 12,000 votes. And in 2014, Jeff Gorell lost to my opponent by 4,600 votes, 4,600 votes. In this last primary, I got 14,000 more votes than Tony Strickland, and I got 23,000 more votes than Jeff Gorell did. And I did that with almost no money, and a tiny, tiny, tiny staff. And when I go back to the party, I say, hey, this is what I did. Explain to me how I did that without being locked up in a room. They have no response. So, to me, it's about the people. So they can actually really get to know you. So the system is broken. It is quasi-corrupt. I'm not going to say full-blown corrupt. It is a broken system. It is a broken system. I don't have a single dollar from any special interest group. My opponent has millions of dollars from special interest groups.
Okay, we have a time constraint, so we're going to wrap it up around 8:45. But we have 2 questions, and then that's it. You know, so if you can keep your answers short. Really good question.
Thank you all for coming. I have 2 questions actually. One is very short. The first one is this. Most of the time when citizens interact with government, it's beneficial or benign, right? Either we're sending our kids to public schools, or we're using the roadways, or we're getting a permit for something, or a license, it works beautifully. But there are some interactions that now have turned dangerous for certain citizens. So we see pictures of Black Americans, mostly African Americans, being shot by police. And as Muslims, we know what it feels like to fly while being Muslim. You know, it's the new driving while black is flying while Muslim. So my question to you guys is, both at the local level, the state level, and the national level, would you support training for police officers and others who are in security jobs so that they understand what constitutional limits are, number one, and number two, that this type of policing does not work and actually backfires? That's my first question. The second question is easy. Who do each of you support in the presidential race?
That's
Yeah, those are loaded questions, but I'm supporting Hillary, no question. I'm not voting for Trump. So I will start with the easy question. The other thing is it is obviously very disturbing to see these cases of, as you explained, flying while Muslim or driving while black, and I absolutely support training to make sure that officers are able to deal with things like implicit bias, which to make sure that they understand what some of their stereotypes might be and that they learn how to deal with them. I have to say, in California, they go through very, very extensive training, which is why a lot of these cases that you're seeing nationally for public safety are not happening in California. But certainly among police, there are bad apples, but the vast majority of officers, and I have to say, especially knowing what I know about Ventura County, are extremely well trained, and you don't see these types of incidents happening here. When you see those incidents, often you see lower paid officers that do not have the appropriate training. So we have not, when the last shooting that we had here in Ventura County was in Camarillo, and it was a police shooting, but there's a high sensitivity of it. The sheriff, within an hour, released the video to make sure that there was no pressure in the community and dealt very quickly with it. So we are in a very good situation here. Public safety is very highly regarded throughout the county. And, but I think the bottom line is that anywhere where the training is not sufficient, there has to be additional training.
Assemblymember Jackie Irwin.
I also completely support increased training, and I also I believe it's important that we have better avenues for communication and mutual understanding and respect. I would really like to be the one on the city council that people can come to if they feel disenfranchised, if they feel unsafe, either by email, as Jackie said, or meeting and talking, or coming to a meeting. I have a lot of experience working with conflict resolution and peacemaking. I was the only peacemaker with migrant workers in Glencoe, Minnesota. So it was me, and then there was the town, and then there was the Green Giant plant. And there was a lot of conflict, there was a lot of racism and ugliness and hate, and I was able to turn that around and really educate a lot of the town members, and we became more of a community, and it was really quite amazing. I also have a lot of experience working with immigrants, and it's the same thing. It's really knowing how to bring people together, and that is just something that I feel very passionate about. Oh, I am voting for Hillary. I will not ever vote for someone like that.
Well, I think the problem is you just can't keep police officers sequestered from the public in their cars and in their uniforms. You've got to be, police officers have to interact with the public, and that's happening here in Thousand Oaks. Tim Hagel has a number of, he's the chief of police here, he has a number of community programs. He's helping kids stay away from gangs over in some of the areas here in Thousand Oaks that have that problem. He has a coffee every other week, every other month, where you can come and talk to the chief. It's important that police officers mingle and get to know the community that they're living in, so you don't have this sequestration. And I know, I've talked to Jeff Dean about this. He's our sheriff, the county sheriff. I know he takes the issue very seriously, and he is very attuned to it and wants his officers properly trained. As far as the candidates, all I can tell you is I'm not happy with either one of them.
Voting for Trump? Plead the fifth.
Once again, I've said it like 4 times, I'm not a politician, I've done it for real. I was a policeman, 8 of those LA, 13 years total. I was also a gang cop, besides a narcotics cop. So I agree with everything Jackie said. With that said, there's always going to be a bad or even evil person anywhere. From a priest, a rabbi, a police officer, a baseball coach. Bad people penetrate any organization. Any organization. With that said, the most amazing people that I've ever worked with and encountered in my life were the police officers that I worked with that saved countless lives. These are the things that you never hear on the news. The amazing things they do every day. I talked earlier about the media and the exaggeration of how they do things, and I'm going to give you an example of that. Many years ago, my partner and I were pulling over someone, I'll make it really quick, and that person tried to kill my partner. Ran back in the car and ran away. The car was stolen. We did not know that he was a Colombian cartel mule that was wanted by the news that night said that we were shooting at each other all over downtown LA from one car to another. And I was the driver. I was the guy. And I don't remember any of that being true. My point is, there's exaggeration that goes on. In Ferguson, that started the Black Lives Matter movement, remember the gentleman that said, hands up, don't shoot? It turned out to be a big lie. And the Attorney General investigated that. It was all a lie. And riots came of a lie. And lives were destroyed because of that lie. And that community was hurt because of that lie. So we have to be careful with what we hear on the news all the time. Because what they're doing is they're dividing us and making things worse. Mistakes do occur, and I believe there's officers out there that are just plain old scared, and there are bad people out there. So it's not always as simple as we see on TV.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the host here.
I just have a quick comment.
I was going to ask the host, do you want to extend this for another 5 minutes?
I just
Sure.
want to make a quick comment because Chief Tim Hager's name came up. He has been an amazing supporter of our community. I just want to take you guys to know.
Do you have a question? So one last one. I mean, it's better to have...
Good to hear that.
Yeah, Nasir Ahmed. I have 2 daughters, mother of 2 daughters, 4 and 8. I came to this country 26 years ago, and the country has changed significantly since then. I truly believe that evil has no religion, but I am fearful for my life, the situation that we find ourselves. Now, I am confused. What am I going to tell my daughters about their country? They're born here. I am an immigrant, but they're not. They're born here, they're a born citizen. So I'd like to hear your opinion. What do I tell my kids about this country?
That this country is great.
Why are you fearful? Something happened to you directly? Has someone stopped you and threatened you? Because I want to know. Or is it because you're listening to things outside that are creating that thought process, which is very possible, by the way. Because, I came from an area that I was in fear every day because of the realities around me. Thankfully, I survived. So why are you fearful is my question first.
Yeah, the fear comes from other communities, Muslim like myself, get killed.
Say again?
Muslim like myself get killed.
So Muslims are being
Just
killed.
praying, coming out of the masjid, then they're getting killed.
So he's saying that he's fearful.
The New Yorker.
In other communities, some Muslims are being killed, so he's fearful of his life too.
Okay. So I'm not familiar with Muslims being specifically targeted in our country. I got to tell you, if that was to ever happen on my end, I'll be the first one to jump on top of you to save your life, okay? And everyone that I've worked with would be the first one to jump on top of you to save your life. I've actually saved probably about 300 to 400 lives in my professional life. I don't look at religion. I don't look at color. I don't look at sex. I don't care what you are, where you're from, what your thoughts are. I don't even care if you're a bad person at that moment. I'm going to save your life. So please, we live in a special country. Think that way first. Your daughter's going to be fine. There's no other place in the world like this place. Okay?
Well, sir, I would just tell you that the United States of America is a country of equal opportunity. It's a country of education. It's a country where if you work hard on a daily basis, you will succeed. I came here in 1977. I didn't know a soul. I was 24 years old. I started with a little janitorial service. That's what I did. And 35 years later, I was the mayor of Thousand Oaks. Wow, how'd that happen? I still can't believe it, but you know, my story is similar to many, many people's story. This is one of the few countries in the world that you can make something of yourself and you can move up. And I know everybody in the room wants to do that. We all want to better ourselves, and it just takes a little work to get there.
I would tell my daughters that you are valuable. We are valuable. We're a valuable part of this community. We're a unique and special part of this community. And we belong here. And, you know, the thing is that Islamophobia should never be tolerated anywhere. But it won't be tolerated in Thousand Oaks. And I think you have two people right here who would stand up in front of anyone that was being hurt or harmed by words or deeds.
No, I want to acknowledge the reality of what you're saying in this toxic environment. Certainly, you go to Facebook and you see a lot of very inappropriate postings. You see people behaving in a bad way. But I truly believe in November, good will prevail. And we will go back to remembering that we are a nation of immigrants. We are stronger because we are a nation of immigrants. And we do a better job than any country of the world in assimilating our immigrants, making sure that they get a good education and that they become important parts of our local community, of our state, and of our country. So you tell your daughters this is a short-term thing. They need to keep studying. They need to keep being involved with the community. They need to understand that they are Americans and good will prevail.
I just want to, first of all, thank you all for coming, and just the fact that you came here. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I'll go for you. I don't remember if there are pictures on the ballot. Are there pictures on the ballot? No. People may not remember your name, so I think it would be appropriate that you just repeat your name again. I know her, everybody knows her. And I know you, they may not know your name again, so if you repeat it a few times, just the fact that you came, we'll appreciate that actually.
I'm the guy with the strange last name, Dag Nessus. And there's only two of us running. The other one's Julia Brownlee and then Raphael Dag Nessus. And that's for the U.S. House of Representatives. And I'm going to pass these out as you folks leave. Thank you.
Raphael, you never answered who you voting for.
Oh, you got me, huh?
That's a politician.
I thought I was going to get away with that. Gosh. You're going to force me to do that. Okay. To me, everything is about brutal honesty. The person that's... By the way, back to parties real quick. Yeah, I'm running as a Republican. I wish I could create a third party called the Common Sense Party, quite honestly. Okay? Because I think people on both sides have good ideas, and they want to reach a common place, but the hyper-partisanship that goes on today makes us not be able to do that. With that said, I'm a law enforcement professional. I also had a secret clearance when I worked military intelligence, and I will tell you this, forget about what you see on the news. Everyone on my team and anyone in the intelligence field will tell you this. If I would have walked out of the building that I was working at in Virginia with one of those emails, I would have been handcuffed, stripped of my rank, and put in prison. So there's no way I can vote for a person that should be in jail. I can't. I'm sorry. And that's the truth. So, okay? That's it. I told you I was going to be brutally honest.
You're saying everything but not answering the question directly. So stand up and answer it rather than just walking around.
I just answered it. So I said I'm not going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I'm not a Donald Trump fan. Okay?
The question was, who are you going to vote for?
If I have the choice between two of them, one that should be in jail, I have to vote for Mr. Trump. But I'm not a Trump fan.
So it took this long for you to answer a simple question. That is the quality of a true politician that you have been accusing and criticizing for. And you proved to be a better politician than anyone.
Good, sir. I'm sorry you feel that way.
All right, so we're going to wrap up today's meeting. I'm going to be thankful for all the people that took the time to come here. And one of the things that we advocate at CARE is that if you want to improve your relationship with the law enforcement community, one of the things is like your community centers invites the law enforcement officers here. They come with their police car. The kids get to play around with them, talk and build relationships. That's one of the things you can do. Is the police or the local law enforcement can come over and bring some gadgets and show the kids who we are and what they're doing, and encourage the kids to join the law enforcement jobs too. That's one way to improve the situation. Anyways, we're going to wrap up, and if you guys have any, you can distribute your material, and if you'd like to do this in the future, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to. And on behalf of Islamic Center,
closing statements.
And closing statements. Okay, 1 minute each, because we should be wrapping up.
I'm going to do less than 1 minute. I'm glad somebody said that everybody knows me already, but I've been serving this community for 12 years. I'm very, very proud to be able to serve this community to do good.
By not approving the fourth position to save the job of the paraprofessional supervisor. My offer of compromise was rejected. I also asked that in the future that we not consider jobs in bunches, that they be considered individually. Again, that offer of compromise was rejected. So as I mentioned before, this action item failed 2 weeks ago, and they waited till Mrs. Buckles came back to re-introduce it.
Any other comments? To clarify. Okay, please vote.
Motion carries 4-1 with Mr. Dunn voting no.
Motion carries 4-1, Mr. Dunn voting no.